Okay, well, when I contacted you, I didn't know you'd moved to Bali. I was actually interested in doing an ecstatic dance, okay, a Shakti awakening dance. I'll tell you, I mean, what happened to me, I had an awakening to myself, I suppose is the best way to put it, a couple of months ago. And I started to become much more aware of the fact that I wasn't connected to my body, and I wanted to have a deeper connection to my body. And by following lots of different cues from my intuition, it's kind of led me on this journey to reconnect. And some of it's involved yoga, but a lot of it is to do with dancing. And so I guess I'm just really interested in how it works, and if you could just tell me how. So, like, do you need to do yoga before you can go try this sort of Shakti awakening dance, or how, if you could just explain it to somebody who doesn't really know much about it, which is me basically, because there's not a lot of information online.
It's an interesting thing. I mean, you definitely don't need any experience, and it doesn't matter what you call it. Ultimately,
Yeah.
like in any of these circumstances, the invitation is to, well, not in every class, but the invitation generally, I guess, in what I tend to share, is to drop in. And it's to drop into your feeling sense. So it's to drop into that space that you've already talked about being really connected to who you are and connected to your being and in its entirety, including this physical body. So you don't need any experience. The whole thing is that you can't get it wrong. That's the whole thing. And whatever the fuck you choose to do, whatever your body starts doing, whether it starts like having a cathartic release, you might piss yourself. That's like the worst case scenario. But you might start feeling like you need to vomit. You might have an injury in an arm or a leg that starts to twitch on the dance floor because energy's moving through it and it's healing. It's like unprescribed. You know what I mean? It's like it's not like the side effect of such an event is that you get to dance and you get to, and one of the side effects, I guess, is that you become a better dancer. That is an inevitable. It is, but that's a side effect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's like when the energy frees, when the energy moves, you realize, wow, to people who are trained dancers, which I'm certainly not, that's maybe not any news, but to those of us who come from a background of feeling disconnected from our bodies, to actually, when this body starts moving on its own, and the prana starts to move with it, and yoga they say the prana starts to move. That's what they say. So the life force starts to move through the body. So when the energy starts to move through the body, say, then it starts to do its own thing. And that's when you feel like magic. Like, what magic's happening? You know those dreams you have when, like, you can do, like, backflips and you're just, like, a fucking ninja?
No, I need to have a few of those. I'd love to have a dream like that. I know what you mean, though.
Yeah. People, when they start yoga, they're like, oh, my God, I had these dreams. I could do all these poses. And, you like, these dreams, like, couching tiger, hidden dragon, you just find that your body can do stuff. It kind of opens you up to that. And you realize, maybe that's true.
Yeah. So it's more about the inner experience than anything external.
Beyond that, it is, and it's also, there is such a beauty and joy and feeling that your body is free enough to be able to dance. Like I said, that is a side
without judgment.
Yes. And they actually, oh my God. No, it's not about being good, but just that moment of feeling you're really in the flow, not giving a fuck, That's
free.
Free. And there's another aspect to it as well that I find in this culture that I'm absorbed in at the minute. The ecstatic dance community that I'm absorbed in at the minute, there's a massive group energy. There's two things that group energy I feel personally can do. And it can either take you out of who you are, take you out of where you are, disconnect you from where you are, or it can
ground you.
I think that the trick is to be with the group energy but not let it take you over. I think it's like a metaphor for life. It's like you want to tune into who you are and you want to tune into what's out there, but you don't want what's out there to take you away from who you are. So it's a case of you want to hold on to this space inside yourself. And you want to keep that strong as you commune with what's outside. Do you know what I mean? You can't be too in because then you're not with anybody else. Then you're closed.
It's like taking what serves you, but not incorporating that into your identity in a way.
Not letting it steal your identity.
Steal your identity.
So this is a massive thing about being in the dance floor, because the energy can be so powerful and it can really help to facilitate to take you deeper. But I find that I've got to keep coming back to the eye. That strength of, oh no, what's true for me, like you were saying about being connected to your body, what's true for me in my body not. Not like, woo! Oh, where the fuck am I? It's like, what happens? It's like, wow, it's like being in two worlds at once.
Yeah,
and I think
that's amazing. Do you find it's different every time?
Totally. Totally.
And does it surprise you sometimes still?
Oh, the interesting thing is, maybe I'm a bit dumb, a bit dim, but I always get surprised by the same revelations, like, ooh, the revelation of, oh yeah, all you have to do is be true to who you are. And it's like, yeah, I can have it.
I know exactly what you mean. It's like reading something you've read 1,000 times before, like a saying or something, and then one day you're just like, oh, now I get it.
Now you get it. But it's even a bit more goldfish than that, because after you've got it, you get it again. You know what I mean? It's like, oh wow, I got it again, But it's like it doesn't lose its effect. So it is kind of like that, yeah.
So it's very interesting to me to try and explain these kinds, because these are kind of abstract concepts we're talking about now, to somebody who is disconnected from their body and doesn't understand it. And do you know what I mean?
It's a completely different fucking language. You might as well be speaking a language that you don't understand.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I also want to just go into for myself what I found when I started dancing. So I realized this wasn't going to be dancing like I'd ever done in my life before. I knew I needed to find some other way to move that was going to be more meaningful to me. And what I found was a lot of shame came up. Like I would try to move in a wide way, and something inside me would want to keep me small, And I had to, it took a lot of courage to kind of push out of that physically. And then when I found I did that, the shame kind of rose up, and I had to face it really, And I feel like this is such an incredibly powerful discovery, that the body kind of carries these memories and emotions, and that purely through movement we can actually bring them up and kind of engage with them. Sorry, that's not a question. But yeah, I find it incredible.
It's interesting that you say that, because funnily enough today my revelation was about a collective shame. And interestingly enough, and it's not the first time I've had it, but when I had it, it was massive, and I haven't had it for ages. And it was just as massive as it was the other time, and I was crying, and it was because so I danced on my way through, and it was just at the end that it came through. And so the two things that happened were I'd introduced myself to two people in the queue, and both of them were from America. One was from Kansas and one was from somewhere else. And both of them, when they said they were from the US or Kansas, they were ashamed. Right? And they both said, I'm from the US. Number one, apologetically. Number two, but I've been here and there, so I've traveled. So basically there was shame attached to being American, especially Middle America. So I noted it, and I also resonate with that on a level of, having my own issues with react or whatever, and I just absorbed that. Then I forgot all about it, and then at the end of the dance, I saw the guy who I had been talking to just standing in the dance, just there. And it must have brought it subconsciously, it must have been there, and I just realised that collective shame. Then that made me think of our children. Because this is where we learn shame. And it made me think of the programming that is used on us as human beings to dumb us down. We are made to feel ashamed.
When we're at our most defenseless.
Yes, because that keeps, that box you were kind of referring to, that place of not wanting to be seen, because you've been taught to be ashamed so that you don't break out of our box. That's what we're taught. So of course that's kind of the whole thing that I came up with today.
And you start to push out of the box, and then it sort of all the dominoes start falling over, and it just has this kind of knock-on effect. But yeah, I think that's amazing. How did you kind of find your way to that? Because obviously you've been doing yoga for a long time. Did they kind of develop concurrently in your life, or?
Really, no. I mean, like, I started doing yoga when I was 19. Then I got really drunk and high in my early 20s, so I stopped doing yoga till I was like 24.
Mm.
And then I started doing, so I'll just brief you, then I started doing yoga a few times a week in London. And at the same time, I was taking crack, I was taking heroin, I was fucked, I was off my nuts.
Wow.
I was out there, hey? I was kind of on a death wish. And then one day, and I'd always wanted to dance, hear this, right? I'd always wanted to dance. But when I was a kid, my mum sent me to a dance class. And they were saying, do this, do that, like choreography. And I let talk.
You just wanted to dance?
I just wanted to dance? I was so shocked. How can you tell me what to do? I just want to dance. So it never really worked out for me in the traditional sense.
Yeah.
So anyway, so fast forward to like when I'm 25 years old, and do you know what DMT is? Have you ever heard that?
Yes, I have. It's in a similar vein to the kinds of like psilocybin and ayahuasca, but a bit more powerful. Or I don't know. It's its own experience. So I haven't ever tried it though.
DMT is the chemical compound. It's a chemical extract of ayahuasca, right? So DMT is naturally produced in the brain, right? But this is.
I read something very interesting that you said, which I thought was fascinating in another interview online about the only 2 times your body actually produces it are when you're born and when you die. Is that really true? That's amazing. Anyway, carry on.
Amazing. Isn't it amazing? Look, DMT is present in the fetus from, I think, 9 weeks onwards. So usually, like for example, if a woman has an abortion, usually the DMT hasn't started to be produced in the brain of I'm just saying, of an unborn, fetus. Usually. Anyway, so I had DMT for the first time when I was 25, when I was on my death wish. And I didn't know anything about ceremony. I didn't know, I mean, this is like 16, 17 years ago. I didn't know anything about ceremony. I didn't know anything about fucking setting intention. I just knew about getting high. I just knew, but before I took this DMT, without knowing anything, I just knew I had to respect it for some reason. And I was sitting on the floor, and I just started spinning around before I took it, and I said, I wish I could dance. I wish I could dance. And I didn't know why I was saying it. I wish I could. I was maybe setting intention. I didn't know. Anyway.
Oh, I love this. Sorry. It's just so magical.
I know, it's great. I love how spirit was so led. So I took the DMT, and during the experience, ecstatic trance dance came into my body. My body just happened. And from that moment on, my energy was free, and I was ecstatic trance dancing. That's what I was doing. And also other gifts came to me at that time also. But basically, I had made a wish. I went into the experience of DMT, and I emerged with a new skill. It was like emerging me a fucking third leg. Do you know what I mean? It was so profound for me, because the shift in what I could do with my body was a whole turnaround.
Which kind of reveals the kind of creative power that we have with our intentions, right?
So profound. So that was when it started for me. And then that was the turning point for me with my whole experience of to that point on, I started to change my life. And within a year, I was in teacher training. I was living in a yoga school. I had totally fucking dropped drugs. I'd come off of heroin. It turned me around. DMT actually was one of the pivotal things that changed my life. I thought honestly, it was.
Do you think that it would have that effect for everyone? Because it seems the way people speak about ayahuasca, it almost doesn't matter. Like ayahuasca will just have like a life-changing effect on you. But I mean, the intention is really the key there. Because people can take mushrooms, people can take all these things that are supposed to have mind-expanding effects, but without the intention, it might not have that same effect, right?
I